Welcome back, Bears fans, to another episode of the Bears Brothers Podcast, and welcome to part 2 of our Bears draft recap. I am your host, Will DeWitt, joined by my fellow Bears brothers, Brandon Hazlett and Nicholas Moriano, and we're sitting down with our good pal from the Sun-Times, Adam Jahns. Adam, thank you for joining us today. I know you just got back from T-ball practice that was testing your patience, but in short, is it going okay?
Hey, we're going to have a good season. I think we may go undefeated, just like everybody else in the league this year.
There you go. Nothing wrong with a league full of undefeated 4, 3, 4, 5-year-olds. I don't know what the age group is for yours, but yeah, I just had my first T-ball practice on Saturday last week. And yeah, like you said, definitely test your patience a little bit, but it's okay. We're all going to get there. But
you're out there for the kids. You're out in the sun. It's good. It's get them active, right? Get them off the video games. Get them out in the field. Get dirty.
Exactly. It's been a lot of fun. And with the weather being like it has been today, it's been a definite added bonus. No doubt about it.
Absolutely. About time, by the way.
I know it's been a little delayed, long overdue, and I'm finally glad. It seems like we're over that extended winter that we've been going through so far this year. But Adam, we just have about a handful of questions or so. You about ready to get in?
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and begin. And I really felt like with the first 4 picks that the Bears got players that they were high on, and that different people within the organization got like one of what I'm going to call their guys, right? Vic Fangio got Roquan Smith. Harry Heastand, he got James Daniels. Matt Nagy, he got his number 1 wide receiver, Anthony Miller. And Ryan Pace, when he was asked on Saturday night about Iggy, I said he was gushing. It was like the smile on his face was so genuine. I've never seen Ryan Pace smile that big, and Ryan Pace usually smiles a lot. But I think there's a lot of talk inside of how it's all about everyone being united with these decisions. And I want to know, Adam, like in your opinion, like how important is it that the Bears have found a way to make everyone happy and bring in players that the coaches are really passionate about and that they believe that they can really work with?
For a second there, I thought you were going to give Iggy's real name a shot.
No, not today. Give me a month.
I don't worry, I can't do it. I'll never call him. It's always going to be Iggy to me. But you're right, noticing the way, just the big smile in terms of how Ryan Pace talked with him. In terms of your point, yeah, I guess you could say that. But look, you talked to Matt Nagy. Roquan Smith is a guy he loved too. This is a guy you talk to Matt Nagy, he's always talking about matchups, and he wants to create matchup problems for the defense. You know what? Roquan Smith is a matchup problem for his offense. He's a guy who could run with a Tariq Cohen in certain circumstances. He can run with an Adam Shaheen down the slot, down the seam. He can do so many different things in the modern NFL. So Matt Nagy, I mean, he was smiling emphatically about the selection of Roquan Smith because he knows how important a modern-day linebacker is. So, yes, of course, Vic Fangio probably did a little dance when Roquan Smith was selected. But, look, Matt Nagy, very high on that player. And, I just think he fits the modern NFL so well. So Nagy has a great idea of how beneficial he can be for Vic Fangio's defense. The second round, I absolutely love the second round of the Bears draft. Obviously, Nagy should be thrilled about what they got. I think Anthony Miller might be my favorite pick.
Sure.
I just like the way the guy plays. I love the way the guy plays. Every play, it seems like it's his last. He risks his body. He makes these acrobatic catches. He's willing to fight for space. He's not afraid to get into it. Love the first 3 picks. Yeah, you can debate all you want in terms of Iggy or whatnot. I think he could turn out to be a fine player. But yes, in terms of the way it started for the Bears, they should feel very enthusiastic by what they landed in this year's draft class.
Yeah, it's interesting. You brought up Miller just a little bit. I saw on his Instagram story today, he had a clip. I don't know where it was, what game it was against. But it was him at Memphis, and he drove a guy through the back of the end zone, run blocking, like legitimately like 15 yards, just blew him, threw him down to the sidelines, and got up. And of course, in his typical fashion, kind of got in his face. But yeah, it's just like an attitude that I'm excited to bring into the Bears wide receiver.
Absolutely, sure. He totally has that attitude. Come get some attitude, and he wants to bring it to you. He's an in-your-face type of player. I think that really fits the persona that Ryan Pace is trying to build. Roquan Smith, on the other side of the ball, fits that persona. Kyle Long, Cody Whitehair. Cody Whitehair is like the nicest human being off the field. But you hear some of the stories when he's in those trenches. Ask Eddie Goldman about him. He is a nasty player up front. So the Bears seem to – there's a persona being created, I think, here recently in terms of the last few draft classes, especially the guys the Bears have drafted. They all seem to have some of the same personality traits.
That's interesting. I would have never like pegged Cody Whitehair to be like mean, I guess. I don't know. He just doesn't look that way. But so after the draft, you have the undrafted free agency period, and Ryan Pace has hit on some of those guys lately in his past since he's been here. Bryce Callahan, Cameron Meredith, Roy Robertson Harris, just to name a few. Looking at some of the guys here that we have, are there any guys that you'd like to have the best chance of making the roster and possibly making an impact in 2018?
It's the kid from Dubuque, the defensive back, Michael Joseph, local kid, Oswego High School. Everybody's familiar with Oswego. He has the size. He has the story, too. I don't mean to bring up John Fox to you guys, but John Fox, if there's one thing that Ryan Pace and John Fox valued similarly in players, it was that they loved the chip on the shoulder guys, the guys who had something to prove. Joseph fits that mold. He's going to have that coming from a D3 program. Obviously, he's been tested some of the all-star games this offseason and whatnot. I think he can be a player. He has the size, the speed, the measurables you want. He definitely has the demeanor. I think it helped that he was a local kid, and I think he could be like your next Cam Meredith. Cam Meredith, an undrafted kid, St. Joseph High School, obviously turned out to be a pretty good NFL player. I see that in Michael Joseph.
So, Adam, each day of the draft, we went live to break down the prospects of each pick. And while we were live breaking down the Bears' 4th-round draft pick, and I'm going to try this out, Joel Iyebuniwe. I think that's how you do it. Iggy, for sure, that's just what I'm probably going to call him as well. But I eventually came to the realization that the pick may have been made to be the future successor for Danny Trevathan. I saw that you had a tweet later on, or probably around the same time, also saying similar things. When the pick was made, were you surprised at all? Especially because, again, the Bears at that point did not address the outside linebacker position. And, of course, this was a pick that was making Bears Twitter just go insane at the moment. So what was your overall thoughts of the pick? And just, what are some overall thoughts?
Well, if you look at the selection, and I'm going to try to pull it up here real quick. I don't know if you guys got it up, but there was a couple there's a pass rusher taken right before him and a pass rusher taken right after him. I think the Lions actually jumped the Bears to take a pass rusher as well. So I don't know how things would have played out if that guy falls to the Bears, but obviously the Lions, when all teams scout the other team's needs. So they obviously see outside linebacker like we all do as a need for the Bears. So obviously the Lions made that move to get in front of the Bears. Now, my favorite thing about the Iggy pick, and I'm not going to try to get his name right like you did, Nick, but I like that his pick was met with some nastiness on Twitter. Like, people didn't like it. You got another kind of like a small school guy, didn't play major competition. They need a pass rusher. It's another Ryan Pace reach. Whatever. At least give the kid a chance. I'm almost rooting for him now because of all the nastiness that kind of was out there, as we call in the Roquan Smith podcast, Twitterland. So I'm all for this. For this guy becoming something. Everybody's thinking he could be like a special teamer. Oh, well, he should be a special teamer in year one. What's he going to be in year two when Danny Trevathan may or may not be here? Again, he has 2 years left. You can get out of the contract right now and save yourself some money. Obviously, you get out of it again next year and save yourself some more money. This is a guy who he's kind of a lesser Roquan Smith, right? Very productive in college. He can go sideline to sideline. He's got some speed. And Vic Fangio likes the guy, Roquan Smith. Vic Fangio loves that guy. So I think we should all give him a chance. I know some people don't like to pick on Twitter because you have this need for pass rusher. But here's a point I made on our podcast the other day. I think people are kind of underestimating how much pressure Vic Fangio can manufacture from different ways. Leonard Floyd missed a lot of games last year. Willie Young didn't even play. Lamar Houston is a shell of his former self. Mm-hmm. They're still top 10 in sacks. I think they finished number 7. A lot of those were the inside linebackers. There was some nickel backs blitzing. There was a lot of interior pressure from Akeem Hicks. That pass rush will show up in different ways. And Vic Fangio, guys, we've seen it. He can manufacture. They can dial up some blitzes and some different types of pressures to get after quarterback.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And Iggy could be part of that. So that's what I was getting to. Iggy, there we go. With the speed, he has that in his background. He could be part of that for Vic Fangio.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully so. I mean, Iggy, I think if he can step into a role like like a hybrid role this year, and maybe step in, like you said, next year, if they want to exit the Danny Trevathan contract, that would be huge for the Bears, especially get some younger Trevathan too. He's missed a lot of time here since ever since he arrived here in Chicago, so that's something to worry about as well.
Absolutely. Again, everybody latches on to certain players, and look, Danny Trevathan, he's been a very good linebacker, very good signing. Overall, especially compared to like a Jarrell Freeman. But you know what? He was a John Fox guy. And this is a team that wants to get younger. They made a concerted effort to find younger guys. Now, Danny Trevathan, he's a couple years away from 30. I think he's going to be 29 before the season. But you're right. That injury history here. He has not played a full 16-game season here. Yep. You need some durability in the middle of your defense. You need some youth in the middle of your defense. Danny Trevathan's a very good player, but obviously, the Bears are planning for the eventual the turnover. That's what you're going to have.
Yeah, and at least the foresight is refreshing to have. We're not waiting until after the fact to fill the void. We're trying to do it now, which is, of course, really should excite some Bears fans. But I want to move on to the Bilal Nichols pick, because the more I think about it, I think this pick has multiple benefits, and I want to know where you think he might fit. Right, nose, because I know he played nose at Delaware, but I see him more as like a 5-tech here in the NFL, maybe both, depending on the package. But do you believe this pick is going to directly help Roquan Smith like I do? Because I see Nichols as a space eater, someone who's going to help keep Smith clean at the second level, allowing him to kind of roam free, diagnose and blow up plays, which is kind of like how he excels when he doesn't get those offensive linemen running free right at him, right?
Absolutely. Like Vic Fangio's defense completely flows to those linebackers, and it starts up front. You need your Eddie Goldmans, your Akeem Hicks to eat at some blockers. And guys, Mitch Unrein had a heck of a season last year. Like, yeah, I get he's a John Fox guy. The odds of him returning were slim because he's a Fox guy, because he's over 30, yada, yada, yada. But he was a better than serviceable player last year. Now, his play fluctuated. I thought Jonathan Bullard took some steps. I thought Roy Robertson Harris, he definitely flashed. And those two guys, Bullard and Roy Robertson Harris, they're the two guys in front of Nichols right now on the depth chart. They're the guys who need to take the starter step. They're going to get those starters reps. They're going to be in the rotation. Nichols is the guy who has to chase them out of it. So I do like the pick. The Bears have kind of penciled him in as a 5 technique in their base package. But you're right. He is a space eater. He's a massive man. He is kind of built. I don't want to compare him to Akeem Hicks, but he's got the same. He's kind of built the same way. Yeah. Now, can he do what Hicks did? I don't know. But you know what? It took Akeem Hicks to find his footing in the NFL for a couple of years, and give this kid a couple of years to use his athletic traits to blossom into something. And the Bears could be into something at 5 technique. And it's such an unsexy position. I mean, Akeem Hicks, he kind of sexifies it in a sense, with his production. But in so many ways, those guys up front, especially Eddie Goldman's of the world, you're just there to fill 2 holes and handle a couple blockers, get a couple double teams, and do the dirty work. Nichols seems to fit that mold for sure. You're right there.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of pass rushers, we were just talking with JJ Stankovitz about possibly Nick Kwiatkowski moving to outside linebacker.
You're talking to the Stank?
Yeah. But what are your thoughts on that potential scenario? Like, do you he plays better downhill? We see it with the double A gap blitzes when Trevathan and Kwiatkowski are doing it. It seemed like he was able to play downhill much better than he does in coverage, in my opinion. So I think it's worth a shot. What's your opinion on that?
He definitely brings a wallop. And like when he was drafted, and I watched a lot of his film, and I compared him to Shane Mcclellan, especially early on when Shane Mcclellan was your Bears starting inside linebacker. And the problem with Mcclellan is that he seemed to take the hits. You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas Nick Kwiatkowski delivered the hits. He just seemed to be more of a natural. He seemed to have more of a natural wallop to him, for lack of a better way of putting it. You're right. Nick Kwiatkowski did a lot of different things at West Virginia. Inside, outside. He came off the edges a few times. He blitzed a lot, dropped back in coverage. It's a pretty versatile chip. I think in terms of what Christian Jones became for the Bears, I think that's what Nick Kwiatkowski's future is. And look, I don't think we should write him off by any means. Vic Fangio still has a lot of faith in this player. And in terms of durability, that's been the biggest problem for Kwiatkowski. He's been off the field just as much as Trevathan has. He has not been able to stack good practices, good games in a row. He needs to get himself into better physical shape. to compete with your Roquan Smiths of the world now. So hopefully he gets this message. But I would not rule him out by any means. By the end of the year last year, he was the one calling the plays while Danny Trevathan was just doing, his job. I mean, Nick Kwiatkowski was steering traffic back there. So obviously Vic Fangio has some faith in him to some capacity.
Yeah, hopefully Nick Kwiatkowski can stay healthy, like you were saying, Adam. But you and Hogue were able to sit down with Ryan Pace on your latest podcast, which is someone we're trying to get on the Bears Brothers eventually. Ryan Pace, just putting that out there. That'd be amazing.
Wink,
wink. Wink, wink for sure.
I'll put a good word for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But what was your biggest takeaway from the entire conversation?
I'm always struck. I love the whole front office politicking that goes on between front offices. And I thought Pace seemed to be more at ease. Oh, yeah, Jason Light, good friend. He told me about the trade, so I had a heads up on it. It's like that type of inside information. And look, I feel like there's some people in the Chicago media and elsewhere, especially nationally, that don't want to give Pace credit for whatever reason. But, he's got a lot of friends across the league. A lot of people see what he's doing to the Bears, and I've always been under the impression that this was going to be a 3 to 4 draft rebuild. It obviously accelerated once you got the quarterback and Mitch Trubisky. But Nick, to go back to your question and what resonated with me, it was that just the way he's comfortable. I finally feel like I don't know if it's just with Foxconn, but he knows his place with this organization now. He's in his 4th year. He knows how to handle the phones. So I'm always, I guess I'm always intrigued. I'm always curious about, all of the conversations that go on amongst the GMs. And I thought it was kind of insightful to hear him, at least divulge a little bit of information.
Would you guys, I know Chris Ballard actually let some of the media members inside of the war room. Would you guys be like, is that like something that you guys would be down to do? Obviously, I mean, be in that atmosphere for the first time ever. I mean, is that something that you would be open to doing?
Oh, I would absolutely love to do that. But like the Bears have their ways. Maybe they see the Colts doing it and it's something they consider, after the fact. Ryan Pace did make his rounds media-wise after the draft, doing Mully and Hanley and doing ESPN as well, Cap and Company. And then they did us, Adam Jahns podcast. So he made his rounds. I think he's going to be more vocal this year. So there will be a little bit more transparency, especially from the top in Ryan Pace. I think that's going to be a new thing this year. And even Matt Nagy himself is a lot more transparent, at least a little bit more informative than John Fox was. So you'll get better answers there. But I think you'll hear more from Ryan Pace. That may not be him walking you around House Hall and showing you his draft board, but I think you'll hear more from him publicly, whether it's press conferences or whatnot.
For whatnot, sure. Coming on the podcast one day, maybe we'll get there. We have dreams, we have aspirations, we will work towards them. But Adam, you mentioned a rebuild, and just quickly, yes or no? I want to know your opinion. Is it over?
It's on the phase 2.
All right.
It's different now because you got Trubisky. You literally have a centerpiece. Now you literally have someone to build around. That was not Mcclellan. That was not Jay Cutler. And you look back at those drafts. He tried to get up. Pace tried to get up to get Marcus Mariota. Cost wasn't going to work, right? He tried to move up to get Carson Wentz. The Eagles kind of beat him to it and spend a lot of draft capital to do it. So finally, when he's in position, he's got the 3rd pick. He's close. He wants to get closer just in case. He finally does it. So it took a little bit longer for him to get that quarterback to make that big move. But now he's finally got that quarterback to build around. That was not Jay. That was not Mike Glennon. They were just – look, Cutler's time had to end. Mike Glennon, he was supposed to get a year, got 4 games, whatever. You finally have a quarterback to build around. And I thought you saw a difference in terms of spending and who he targeted in free agency in terms of Allen Robinson, Trey Burton, Taylor Gabriel. Then you had the draft picks. Everything changed once Mitch Trubisky came here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And real quick, I know you talked about the Ryan Pace podcast. I just want to let our listeners know definitely check that one out. It's one of the best podcasts. Hogan Jahns is one of the best podcasts. They are the best Bears podcast. I can say that. I can admit that they're someone who we look forward to, someone that we try to emulate, but definitely check them out. If by some reason you don't already, wherever you listen to podcasts, definitely check out Hogan Jahns, especially that last episode with Ryan Pace. But don't turn us off yet. Just wait until the episode's over and head over to their podcast. But
yeah.
I appreciate it, man. You didn't have to do that.
Hey, Adam, what's with the Twitter, the bird that I was driving home from work and that bird came out of nowhere? Honestly. It was loud.
It came out of nowhere. You should be right next to it with the headset on when you found that. So literally, as I'm going on another rant, as I always do on that podcast, he's searching for something on his iPad. Then all of a sudden he just hits a button. Boom. We have all these loud tweets, and then he would not stop hitting the button. So
no, Hogue was loving that button. Is that going to be something we're going to hear in future Hogan Jahns podcasts? Or?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
when we start talking about Twitter and whatever, social media, that's what you're going to get.
Awesome.
We got a new staple over there. I like it. All right, so I want to look all the way to July, all the way to training camp, and I want to know, what position battles are you looking forward to the most? And please tell me, Adam, that it's going to be Patrick O'Donnell versus the undrafted free agent Ryan Winslow. A good punting battle never hurts anyone.
I think Mega might have his punt back this year or something like that. The wide receiver, what's Kevin White going to do? Look, he is arguably your fourth or fifth receiver right now on the roster. Obviously, the Bears are going to give him a shot. But you know what? They've really given him a shot a couple of times, and then they gave him a shot in the mouth by drafting Anthony Miller and signing Allen Robinson and Taylor Gabriel. So, look, he is up against it. I don't think they're going to cut him, but God, you never know sometimes. There's been a lot of other surprises that have come about, not only in the Bears but across the league. That's who I'm watching, number one. That's the most – in terms of deepness and talent and variety of talents, wide receiver stands out to me. I want to see who kind of emerges as a pass rusher. Of course, Leonard Floyd is there, but what type of shape is Aaron Lynch in? Can Isaiah Irving really be that player we saw in the preseason last year? Who else are they going to sign? And is Howard Jones the player that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a couple of years ago, who had 5 or 8 sacks, whatever it was? So that's an intriguing competition just because you need somebody to emerge and be an option for them on the outside. So if I had to pick one side of the ball or a position from either side, yes, it's receiver and pass rusher.
I like it. All right, so one more question for you, then we'll go ahead and let you go. And just real quick, I know you've been doing a bunch of research on all of the Bears draft picks. Can you maybe share to our listeners maybe one interesting nugget that you found about any of them? Any fun personal facts or maybe interesting stories that kind of stuck with you?
Interesting stories. Well, everybody knows about the Anthony Miller letter. James Daniels played against Mr. Trubisky in high school. You guys heard that one, right? Mm-hmm. Roquan Smith dug ditches and drill or holes in the ground. I don't know what he did. He was just digging something for wells or something in Georgia. So there's some of your fun facts. I haven't really delved deep too much into the later round guys. I'm kind of intrigued by what's his name, Javon Whims.
Yeah.
He hasn't played much he's played basketball, but he hasn't played much football. For a guy who's a leading receiver on the national championship team, that's another guy who could give Kevin White a run for his money. But I'm really searching in my head right now for some fun facts.
Well, you're fine. Hey, I'll take it a different direction real quick. Whims, you just mentioned him. I know you're getting in a little bit more of these later round prospects. When we were breaking it down live, at first, when we were looking at him and we were watching some film, I was like, he can be a guy that maybe can sit in a practice squad for a year. But the more I watch him, the more I worry that he'd be poached if we did that. What do you think his chances are of actually making the 53-man roster?
You know what? Sometimes you're always like, you could sneak guys onto your practice squad roster. Like the team I would be worried about in terms of stealing him would maybe be the Broncos, because they would see more of them having those joint practices out there in Englewood, Colorado. Like the Bears did it a couple of years ago with Trevathan LeBlanc. They saw a lot of them at the Patriots practices. They waived him, to get whittled down their roster, and the Bears claimed him, and the Patriots wanted to put him on his practice squad. So I would think the Broncos would come to mind, but I think they just drafted 2 receivers as well. So he could be safe. You can always kind of sneak guys onto your roster. I mean, who knows? Maybe he suffers a sprained groin or something, and you could redshirt him like they did with Jordan Morgan last year.
There we go.
That happens as well. But Yeah, there always is a fear, but I think you're always surprised at what type of guys can sneak through to your practice squad.
All right, yeah, good stuff there, Adam. Thank you so much. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. Adam, I want to thank you again taking the time to join us tonight. You know,
Always
I
fun,
appreciate
man.
you taking the time coming on. I know our listeners do as well. And just let Adam know, Adam Hogue, that we're still waiting for the official crossover episode. I really think we can give the Flintstones and the Jetsons a run for its money.
Let's do it. I thought the Infinity War was the ultimate crossover, as they were saying, right? Isn't that the internet tells you?
Nick?
Oh yeah. I mean, have you seen it, Adam?
No, do not say a word.
Good. I'm glad. Well, definitely go see it. You better see it this weekend before someone spoils. I mean, you're on social media all the time. I mean,
Dude,
it's gonna end up happening.
You can't go to yahoo.com as seeing spoilers. But yes, don't say a word. I'm going to go see the movie soon.
I've already seen it twice. You gotta go see it.
Yeah, well, it's on the agenda, that's for sure.
All right, there we go, Bears fans. This is going to be the last time you actually hear from me for a couple of weeks. My wife and I, we're going to be taking a couple of weeks vacation starting on Thursday. So next week will be Nick and Brandon. They're going to find something for you guys. Don't worry. You guys are in good hands, so stay tuned for that. But I'm going to talk to you all in mid-May. But until then, take care and bear down, Chicago.